Tim Cook influences tariff decisions, Apple's Sports app gets better, and Meta's Redaction fail. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Notion. Work faster, write better, think bigger with Notion. Learn more at notion.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's MacVoices Live, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Wherever you are, we are on YouTube. Boy, at youtube.com/MacVoices TV. Rough start right out of the gate. We'd love to have you join us here. If you are listening to me, then, well, you probably aren't in the chat room, but you should be. And if you're not, then mark your calendar and join us every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, because we're here unless there's something really weird happening. And we would love to have you join us. With that, we have a few things to get through. It didn't seem like quite as crazy a week. Maybe that was just because we didn't have 2 weeks packed together. And we're also doing the inevitable pause in a lot of Apple news leading up to WWDC. So that's just what it is. But there's plenty of other tech news. Let's go around the room, find out who's here, and then we'll take it from there. First up, Mr. David Ginsburg, looking like a big Easter egg. David, good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. No, this is my Doc Pops. I love these things, and that's a good.
I was talking about your shirt.
Oh, is it? Well, maybe it is the blue. I'm talking about the purple on my mic here. I got the blue one, Doc, so I can change it next week. So,
okay. Here we go.
Thanks, Doc.
Here we go. Yeah. On the other side of my screen, Mr. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs is here. Brian, it's great to have you as always. Last week, as I recall, you were struggling through testing. Is that over, done, close to over? Have you recovered?
It's close to over, and it was a 3-day weekend, so a little bit of recovery time, and yeah, we're getting to the end of testing, so that's a good thing.
So then it's just back to normal teaching?
Yep, back to normal after that.
At some point, we'll get you to discuss what the difference is between normal and testing, but we'll probably do that in After Dark.
Yeah.
Marty Jencius is here. Marty, good to see you as always. You guys seem to be baseball crazy pre-show.
Yeah, I got to see the Cubbies this weekend, and they beat the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think it was two out of 3 in this series. It was.
Yes, it was.
It was a pretty good series, and I just had a good trip, and that's always good. We found a great Turkish restaurant on the north side to go to, and just had a real pleasant time. So I came back after a few naps, came back pretty refreshed and ready to go.
Yeah, good. That sounds like a good deal. I've got to try that sometime. Yeah, right. Last but absolutely not least, with one of the trademark vegetation backgrounds this time, Mr. Eric Bolden. Eric, great to have you as always.
I thought I'd hang out with Virginia bluebells today.
Virginia bluebells. Okay.
One of the first plants to come up and flower in the spring in Wisconsin. So, yeah, have to enjoy what is there.
So that's interesting. I mean, look, I know that it's just a name, but Virginia bluebells are the first thing to come up in Wisconsin.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Interesting. Are the green leaves, is that just part of the plant?
Yeah.
Okay. Just thought I'd ask. Well, we have a few things to get through. So let's just dig in. The first one comes from Apple Insider. And this is one of those that kind of tends dangerously close to a political discussion. And we don't want to do a political discussion in the first place. And in the second place, the tariff situation on again, off again has been changing so rapidly. But that said, this article from Apple Insider talks about how a call from Tim Cook helped convince Trump to introduce tariff exemptions. And at least for the moment, so far, it seems to be benefiting Apple, along with others, to be fair. But it is definitely benefiting Apple. And so that has helped all those folks out there who were planning on buying Apple products. And I've wanted to revisit this just because we've had some discussions about how Tim Cook has handled the relationship with various administrations. And I guess it feels like to me, and this is my opinion, that, Tim is one of those that he's not playing politics. I think he's playing the political game for the good of the company that he represents. And that means that you can criticize him if you want based on your principles and maybe what you think his principles should be. But at the end of the day, he's acting as CEO of Apple and he's fulfilling his fiduciary responsibility. That's my take. Marty, what's yours?
Yeah, I mean, I could be the first person in this group to trigger a political discussion, but when I read this article, it really wasn't political. To me, it was about strategy and how he approaches the relationship. So I think it really says a lot about him understanding relationships and how they're important in order to be able to have some influence. And in the article, they talk about complaints from the White House in terms of there are too many people out there complaining and too many people making their complaints public. And Tim has been very low key and from a public standpoint, but it gives him more influence in a sense because he has a good relationship. And it's not about what his political leanings are. It's about making sensible business relationships with people that at some point you want to be able to influence.
David?
Yeah, I would like to tag on to that. Tim Cook is such an approachable guy. He's so easygoing. One of the more easygoing CEOs I've witnessed in a long time. Unlike Steve Jobs, who was a little tougher under the edges, but I think that's what he did. He knows, and I'm kind of like that. I'm probably kind of like him a little bit. That you just want to have good relationships with people, and you want to but also be able to get things that's needed to really work smoothly. And that's what's happening here with him and President Trump, is he is working with them and that influenced him with. Getting being able to get the exemptions and such, and of course Apple was smart with them flying a lot of product, especially iPhones, so 300 tons of technology back to the U.S. But they also now they've got it open so they can work well with not get hit by those tariffs.
And to be fair, there's discussion of some semiconductor tariffs that allegedly are going to come later. And we don't know how that will affect Apple at this point because the details have not been spelled out. But I guess I remember several discussions here where situations that, there was one particular one. I don't remember exactly what conference was going on in China, but there had been some issues with, the government there, and some of the attending tech CEOs walked out and Tim stayed. And he was criticized in the press for, maybe not standing up for the principles that the tech press thought that he should. And I'm notably saying tech press because I don't remember which outlets were, commenting that way. And at the end of the day, if you walk out of the room, you've walked out of the room. Or if you're not at the table, you're not at the table, but if you're still at the table or still in the room, you can still have discussions, maybe move things forward. And I feel like that's what Tim does. He never is out of the room. He just, he does his thing. He does it his way. David, to your point, low key. I just think it really, there are a lot of leadership lessons that can be learned here. That I can think of quite a few leaders that could take a lot of lessons from Tim. So, Cletus, thank you, Cletus. Cletus says there's no way to avoid discussing this, Chuck. It affects Apple and us. Yeah, you're right, Cletus. No question. And it's a fact of life for at least another 6 months. So, probably so. Barry says Tim Cook's superpower, supply chain and dealing with country leaders. That if we were going to do a show title, Barry, that might be it. Nicely done. Nicely done. Anyone else have thoughts on this they'd like to share? Nah, they're not dumb enough to weigh into the fight. Today's edition of Mac Voices is supported by Notion. Work faster, write better, think bigger with Notion. Learn more at notion.com/MacVoices. Notion is a terrific business tool, but it isn't just for business. As a creative, or if you're doing freelance or technical work, juggling multiple projects, deadlines, and client notes can be a nightmare. I've been there. Keep everything in Notion. Things like episode outlines, research, and project trackers. And now with Notion AI, it's like having a creative partner built right in. Notion combines your notes, docs, and projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed. You don't need to hop between 5 different tools. Whether it's drafting show notes or outlining future episodes, Notion does it all in one place, and with AI, even faster. You can use Notion AI to generate first drafts, brainstorm ideas, clean up messy notes, or even summarize entire project threads. It does the heavy lifting so you can stay in your creative flow. And here's the thing, Notion is used by over half of Fortune 500 companies, so it scales whether you're working solo or collaborating across a team. Try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/MacVoices. That's notion.com/MacVoices, all lowercase, to try the powerful, easy-to-use Notion AI today. And when you use my link, you're supporting my show. Again, it's notion.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Notion for supporting MacVoices. Brian, this one's for you. The Apple Sports app now lets users create and share game cards. And judging by the pre-show discussion, it sounds like maybe this is something you guys should all have been doing. Can you elaborate a little on this and why I would want to do it?
Yeah, definitely. So for those who aren't familiar, Apple has a app, Apple Sports app, and it came out pretty bare bones. When it was first released, it didn't have a lot of features. In fact, it didn't even have a lot of leagues integrated into it. But it's been upgraded over the past year or so, and this is the latest update that allows for more interaction between friends. You could send the card that connects with what the current score is to one another. And I did try this. I haven't tried it on from an Apple user to an Apple user over iMessage, but I did try it just to kind of see what would it look like for an Android user. So I did kind of look into that as well because I have a family member who uses Android, and I said, "Hey, check this out. See what does it look like on your phone?" And then they sent me back links and pictures of what it looked like for them, and they get a link. And ironically enough, they click on it and it goes to a Safari website, or it goes to a website on their browser rather, that has it's like an image of the Apple iOS store to download the app. But obviously there's no way to download it because it's Android. So it's kind of an interesting little flaw in there. But if for those of you who use the Apple Sports app, I highly recommend it. It's a great update, to be more interactive with one another. And I'm just very impressed with all the improvements that they continue to make. It's a very clean interface. It doesn't have, it has barely any ads. I should say, I was really thrilled with it when it had no ads, which was incredible. But they've slowly there are Apple's kind of own ads that I've seen in there a little bit to advertise various new sports that they've included there into it now, and to consider subscribing to the MLS season and things of that nature. But it's not very in your face, which I like.
So to clarify that for us, when you say Apple ads, you're just talking about Apple TV Plus things or Apple products. We're not talking about just ads for anything.
Correct. Yeah, they all seem to be internal ads advertising their own products, or rather services. Yeah.
Okay. It feels like Apple's making this interesting push into sports, gently, as they seem to do so many things. So I love the fact that we keep getting iterations of this.
Yeah, I do too. It has a nice connection with your watch too. So if you have the Apple Watch, it does a really nice. You get the little pulsating update when the runs are scored. Unfortunately, too many runs by the Cubs when David was enjoying the game against the Diamondbacks. But yeah, So I kept getting, oh, it's an alert. Great. Oh no, that's not a good alert.
Brian, I
why-
wish I had your phone. I wish I had your phone number this weekend. I would have been
Yeah.
texting from the park.
I'm glad you didn't this weekend.
It was okay with me and Marty because we're both Cub fans. So
I have this vision of Brian ripping off his watch and throwing it at the wall.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
David, what are your thoughts on the sports app?
Well, yeah, I agree with everything that Brian said about the sports app. I'm really excited how Apple's really has extended this, and it could definitely be a more full-time sports app for me now, because it was hard to get scores a lot of times, and it was a very like Brian said, it was bare bones. But I'm also excited at something else that they've extended on with the sports app is Apple News now has a sports email that gets sent out just like Apple News Plus gets the emails to review what's going on in the world in news. So now I'm getting emails from Apple News Sports, if that's what it's titled. So then it'll go through some of the top headlines on there as well. So I'm kind of considering that a little bit of an extension from the app to news. So you're getting that added bonus, and because the Apple Sports app doesn't show a lot of news. This is going to get that. And then Apple's smart about that because now they're separating. So you're going to get an audience on Apple News Plus, as well as our news, and the Apple Sports app. But being able to customize it is huge, and I think more and more people are going to start using it.
David, is it aggregated from like The Athletic and other news sources that Apple has
the
within
Athletic,
their system?
The Ringer. Yeah, ESPN. So it's grabbing. It's an aggregator.
Yeah.
But still, being able to grab
It's still
it in all
good,
different, being able to grab it in multiple, getting multiple views of what's being said in sports. I mean, The Athletic is probably one of the biggest ones because New York Times owns that now. That's one of the big de facto ones. But of course, you have to pay for it. So I'm not sure. Maybe Apple is now Apple's actually able to be able to read. Yeah, you are able to read The Athletic within the Apple News Plus app. So that's pretty huge because you don't have to pay for that. I mean, like the Wall Street Journal, you can read that through Apple News Plus. Why not The Athletic?
So I'm curious because my big sports event of the year happened what last week?
Masters.
Or week before? Yeah, is golf on the sports app at this point yet?
I think so. Let me look.
Checking too, real quick.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
It is under elderly leisure.
Wow. Whoa, that's a blow.
Eric, you want to jump in with your partner there, or you just want to pretend you don't know him?
Did I get the hand palm? I didn't see.
I'm sorry, I'm taking a drink.
You don't want to spit it out.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Okay, well, it's been
Marty.
nice having you, Marty. I'm sorry later.
I won't get the link next week. I can see it coming.
All right. Well, let's move on before Brian, yeah, please, on the update, if you have, just let's get away from that.
Oh, sure. I was just saying another real nice benefit. I think this was the previous update not too long ago. They started, you can click on the games now and it tells you where they're playing at. So as far as like where to tune in station wise. So, whether it's, FanDuel Sports or ESPN or wherever it might be showing. It's kind of nice. We have that.
Yeah.
So you can know where to tune in.
Unfortunately, with the Cubs, since it's a marquee sports network, when you go to Open Apple TV, it's not linked. So you have to go out and go into marquee sports in our case. So
yeah.
And forget the White Sox. You can't even get to that network without paying for it separately too. That's $30 a month, which is ridiculous by itself. But
because
that's another story.
I'm out of market. I can get it.
Yes, you get it
the
through
Cubbies.
MLB.TV.
Yeah, MLB.
Not me.
All right. Well, before this turns into a full-blown baseball discussion,
I backed off.
And what is wrong with that, Chuck?
well, I could say something. No, never mind. I'm not going to stoop to that level, Marty. I'm just going to move on to the next topic. I just shook my head with this. This is has to do with the Meta trial, I believe. And apparently Meta redacted did an incompetent redaction. Incompetent is 9 to 5 max word, and I agree with it completely, because we've talked about this multiple times over a long period of time, that you don't just take a text box or something like that in a PDF viewer and draw it over and save it and expect it to not be able to be removed. It is not a secure redaction. And yet, Meta took some documents relating to Apple and redacted them that way, and someone got a hold of them and removed the redaction and got to see things that Apple would rather have not had made public. And so, Apple says now it can't trust Meta, and can't blame Apple. I would kind of be the same way. I mean, again, they're a technology company. I can't figure out how they don't know some of these things, or do they just not care? Or if I really get paranoid, was it intentional?
That's a real question.
Ooh, Eric, elaborate, please. Are you as paranoid as I am?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say anything. Should just leave it. Should walk away. Follow Marty's example, and not say that it's not just Apple that can't trust Meta, but that's kind of across the board. They sort of have a long track record of stepping in it.
Yeah. It's such a beginner mistake. Either it's complete incompetence or it's intentional. It can't be something in the middle. And I would like to believe that it is complete incompetence, in the sense that the document was given to somebody who said, "Oh, I know how to do this. I'll just go ahead and do it," and didn't consider the availability of people from a layer standpoint to be able to remove the redactions. That's a basic document service process that people who are given the job to do that should know. Yeah.
And Marty, that's a really great point that, might easily be overlooked, that this document wasn't just randomly redacted by somebody. It was given as part of a legal process to someone to redact. And so that does point to either just gross incompetence or something that was intentional. Because and I don't know I'm not sure which is worse for Meta. What the worst look is. Mark Fuccios couldn't be with us tonight, but he's in the chat room, and he says conspiracy theory. Zuck and company did it purposefully to jab Apple. It wasn't sloppy. And at least one person in the chat room agrees. So, I don't know. It just boggles my mind. And so, folks, if you are someone who has any involvement in redacting things, make sure you look up and understand how to correctly and properly and completely redact things. Don't just draw blocks over them and think it's secure. It's not.
So, Chuck, how far do you go to redact data in a document? Do you print it out and scan it back in again? Or
no,
do you
I don't
trust the tools?
It depends on who's making the tools, but I usually trust the tools. Here we go, assuming they come from somebody reputable, and I don't want to endorse anyone. I don't want to slam anyone either. But there are half a dozen different PDF editors out there that's will claim that they redact things. I'm not sure they do. I think Apple's Preview now securely redacts. So it's Apple, so I feel pretty good about that. And there's some others that I probably would think about trusting. But your point is well taken. If nothing else, print it, black it out, and scan it, and then there's no question about the fact that it can't be hacked or read.
Yeah, I have a colleague who occasionally sends what she thinks are redacted documents. They aren't. Well, they are, but it's easy to peel off the tape, but let's
Yeah.
not tell her.